before you got on, I went on and I read through your bio so that the audience knows a bit more about you. And first of all, I'm excited to reconnect with you. It's been a few years, but I'm thrilled that you're here and taking the time today to answer some questions about mindset. You know, reading up on you, you know, you and I have a lot to talk about. We'll go as long as you can, but I think the first thing is, you know, you have so many things that you have done and are doing. I absolutely love the video you posted during the coronavirus fairly recently about, you know, the mindset and how powerful it is. So why don't we start there? You know, for those out there that are dealing with this coronavirus, something we've never dealt with before, why don't you tell us how important your mindset is to get through it, be positive, be productive, and beyond just positive, kind of like your book. And then also, what trigger words or actions do you take on a daily basis to get yourself in the mindset? Because I know the mornings are really important for you, and I agree.
Yeah, owning your morning. You know, I always say champions start strong and they finish stronger. But you're not going to finish stronger if you don't start strong in the first place. So your mornings are very important. You know, you're going to get out of the gate and start your day. Most people, well, I can't speak for most people. I guess entrepreneurs, I can speak for entrepreneurs because I coach a lot of entrepreneurs. The first thing they do is go check their emails. Their mindset is on someone else's agenda, you know, and some problem that they've got that they need you to solve. And then you don't get a chance to just sort of take a moment, get on the starting block, get your mindset. How are you going to run this race today? You know, so owning your morning is critical for sure. And you know, we don't have time to go into everything. You know, that's why I coach people. I love coaching athletes, by the way. I know there's a lot of athletes out there listening. I've coached a lot of world-class athletes, and this is one of my favorite topics because I started out my whole life, its journey as an athlete, as a young competitive swimmer, and became a champion and regional champion and so forth. So anyway, that started at 3 years old. So, you know, my early ages of life, where I started to visualize and started to do self-talk and talk to myself and and get on the starting block of each race, I learned by trial and error how important, you know, it is to have a good mindset. And, you know, I noticed the times, you know, when I did have that mindset and I started out the race the right way, that I started winning a lot more. So, you know, but yeah, so back to the coronavirus thing, it's new, right? You know, I'm not a guru. I don't have all the answers here. I'm not a scientist. I'm not an epidemiologist. I'm following the science. I'm listening to the people who know what they're talking about. There's a lot of people out there yakking at you on TV that have no clue about what they're talking about, and they're just invested in their own agenda. I think that that's the wrong approach. If you're just gonna, you know, we need each other in this time, whether it's virtually or family. We need each other. We need our faith, whatever your faith is. You need a good book, a positive self-growth help book. You need to meditate. You need to pray, whatever it is for you to get you centered emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually. You need to work out. Your body needs certain things. Your mind body, your mental body needs certain things. Your emotional body needs certain things. And all of those, by the way, boost your immune system. If you're not working out, if you're not taking care of your body, if you're not taking care of your mind, we know that a thought produces chemicals in the brain. You know, you can have two people sitting side by side on a roller coaster. One is scared to death of roller coasters. They're, for whatever reason, they have a fear of high speeds and the drops. The other one is a kid who's just loving the ride. Their brains are producing two separate sets of chemicals. One is harmful and is actually known to cause cancer.
Oh, wow.
I think the chemical is called interleukin, or interleukin 2. You know, I'm not a biochemist either, but But anyway, and the other one is producing endorphins and serotonin and dopamine and things that make you happy. And the brains are producing two sets of chemicals. So what we think on a daily basis, consistently over time, can boost your immune system or suppress it. I think right now, it's my understanding that we're going through this coronavirus that you might just want to have your immune system boosted. I'm guessing, Angelo, I don't know.
Yeah, definitely. That's for sure.
But here's the other thing I would say on a more metaphysical, philosophical approach is that since when is change a new thing in the universe? Change is always happening. Evolution is always happening. You can't stop change if you tried. And most of us, it's human nature to have, we want change. Most of us are begging for things to change. We just want to control how that change is going to happen. If it happens any other way than the way we think it should happen, we start to freak out. We get upset, we get depressed, we get angry, whatever. But, there's a certain, there's a lot to be said about learning how to observe and participate, and then step out of it and observe and allow rather than try to control. Being in command rather than trying to control. These things are I'm hitting on a lot of topics right now that I coach on when I'm doing my life coaching and so on and so forth. But I think that, the bottom line is this coronavirus thing, it feels like a gut punch. It came along and whacked us upside the head globally. So I think that it is a change, and nothing's ever going to go back to the same. Everybody wants everything to go back to normal. There is not going to be the normal the way we used to know it. So let that go and allow the change to take place instead of trying to fight it so much, and just, and focus on what's good here. I put a post out a while ago when the coronavirus first hit. I noticed, what's good in all of this? And, at first glance, it doesn't seem like much. But then you start to realize, well, you can take time to get that project done. You can take time to use your creativity to be with the people you love and you care about that you've been ignoring for a while. There's not a lot of, I noticed that, when the schools shut down, there wasn't a lot of, gun violence in schools. There wasn't a lot of bullying going on. I noticed that there wasn't a lot of traffic on the road, that the cruise lines had shut down, that the airlines had shut down. And I thought to myself, well, if that's the case, then there must be some really good, positive things happening to the environment, to climate change and global warming. And then I thought those things, and I posted out, this list of things that I saw that was happening that was good in this whole change. And then I saw a news report about the air quality over Italy, Italy had completely shut down. The air quality had improved over Italy, and the emissions and the greenhouse emissions had improved like 80 or 90%. So there are good things here, and we may not see all the good that's happening for a while, but just trust, so I'll shut up now.
No, that's awesome. I think that's great. I remember, I think it was Mount Kilimanjaro in India or something like that. For years that you weren't able to see the peak because of the smog, and then during the shutdown, you were able to the smog subsided.
Right.
Totally agree. There's always two sides to every coin. There's no bad without good, no good without evil, and all of that. I love that. And it's how your perspective, which is key. And I love the title of one of your books. You have two. Both titles are eye-popping. Positive Thinking is for Sissies, and The Best You Can Sucks. And I know really what you mean is beyond positive thinking, not just be satisfied with just positive thinking. But why don't you talk more about what you mean there?
All right, what do I mean there? I sent that book to who was it? Somebody was on the radio. Long story. Okay, so what do I mean? Positive thinking is for sissies. Les Brown is who it was.
Oh, yes, yeah.
He was on the air in LA for a while, and I sent him the book. You know, he was going to interview me, and then he left the air. I don't know why, but you know, and I love Les Brown. But he's like, positive thinking is for sissies. Come on, Ron. I mean, he's the ultimate positive thinker, right? But anyway, what I mean, I never said positive thinking is a bad thing. Like, you know, like you alluded to. I think that we should all think positive. But that is not the ultimate weapon to master your life and to master your mind and to get the results you really want out of life. You know, positive thinking can become, for a lot of people, a feel-good mechanism, right? So it's like, oh, when one door closes, another one opens. You know, there's a silver lining in every cloud, you know, and those are great, fluffy things to think about, but that's not, that is for sissies. And why do I say that? Is because if you really want to get it down to self-mastery, which is what I coach on, that is for warriors. That requires you to go beyond positive thinking. That requires you to look in the mirror and own your stuff. And a lot of people don't want to do that. Looking in the mirror and owning your own stuff is painful for lots of people. You know, it's painful for me to own my stuff. But until you own it, it's owning you. And that's the problem. And that is not for sissies. If you want to, we get in the ring every day and spar with ourselves. There's doubt, there's anger, there's frustration, there's stress, there's worry, there's anxiety, there's fear. There's all of these things that are in the ring and they're kicking our ass on a daily basis. You want to get in the ring with those things, that's going to require you to look in the mirror and own some things. And so that's for warriors. That's not for sissies. That is not positive thinking. That requires self-work on a daily basis, and it's hard. It's really hard to learn how to master yourself. But there's, you know, if you're not going to do that, let me ask you this. Why are you here? What are you up to in life? What, you want to be a beneficial presence on the planet to the people you care about, to your family, to yourself? If not, why? What are you doing? So that's, you know, that's my sort of brief explanation.
Yeah, having purpose and then passionately going after your purpose. And I love the Mark Twain quote, the two most important days of your life are the day you were born and the day you find out why.
All right.
And, you know, I referenced that in my book, Tenacity. I wrote a book at the end of last year. It's Tenacity. I'll send you a copy, by the way.
Yeah, please.
I'd love for you to read it. It's called Tenacity, the Tenacious Mindset on and off the court. So I was definitely meant to interview you. But yeah, you know, and one of the things I've been thinking a lot more about, and I wanted to ask you about it, is happiness versus joy. And I've kind of discovered that I used to play tennis, for example, when I competed, you know, at D1 and that sort of thing. And after USGA, I competed for happiness, but it was tied to an outcome that I didn't have full control over. So I won, I was happy. I lost, I wasn't happy. Now that I have 2 children, a wife and 2 kids, and my identical twin, and we play tennis together, we did these marathon rallies for charity. It was utter joy in being on the court, just the presence or the state of being on the court. And what is your take on that, like happiness versus joy, and how do you find your joy?
Well, these days, how I find my joy mostly, it just is my daughter. You know, my 6.5-year-old daughter just brings me so much joy and pain.
Yes.
Oh,
you have to be a warrior. You have to be a warrior to be a father.
Parenting is not for sissies either.
Yes, parenting is not for sissies. That's for sure.
I'll tell you what.
Good parenting is not for sissies. It's easy to be a bad parent.
Yeah, she's the best life coach I've ever had. You know, she shows me my stuff every day. Yeah, she's so strong-willed and so determined and so independent in so many ways, and you know, it's a battle, but she brings me so much joy, you know, and I see the importance of children. Children can bring a lot of joy, but so can tennis, so
Yeah.
can golf for me, or martial arts, or you know,
Yeah.
acting, or the things that, you know, take you beyond a level of happiness, right? So, I mean, joy is sort of a more abstract idea than happiness.
Yeah.
So, you know, you're going up the scale here, and more tied to more, for lack of a better words, your soul, your spirit, your
Yeah.
being.
Yeah.
Whereas happiness is more, you know, probably on a vibrational level, because everything is energy. Happiness is a little bit lower vibration,
Yeah.
maybe, and therefore it gets down into we attach our happiness to outcomes, or to things and results and people, even, like, you know, he makes me happy, she makes me so happy. You know, that's what I mean by self-mastery. You got to step out of that and say, well, is that really true? Can I
Yeah.
just be happy for no reason at all? And for
Yeah.
many people, that's very hard. You got to have a reason to be happy. You know, joy is something, if you're in joy, you're happy.
Yeah.
Right? All
Yeah.
by default. If you're in happiness, you're not necessarily joyful.
Enjoy. Yeah. Yeah. Good distinction.
Right? So it's joy is not necessarily something that's tied to a certain result. It's a state of being. And happiness is something that people have mistakenly, you know, tied to things. Now, it's funny you say this, because I'm setting out a program on my website and about happiness, right? And if you go to my website right now, you can download the basic steps of happiness, because everybody said, you know, and I'm going to be putting that out, virtually too. I think I'm going to do something called the happy hour.
Oh, great.
A little coaching thing, but coaching people on happiness, and that started because, you know, Karate Kid, Cobra Kai, and motivational speaker, life coach. I get a lot of emails from people from around the world, and they ask me, or, you know, social media messages, they're just not happy. I started noticing back in 2018, really, I got so much questions from people about, you know, how do I be happy? How do I, you know, I feel like my life is away. I feel like blah, 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 on and on and on, right? And I thought, God, there's really a lot of people out there that are just not happy. They're not necessarily depressed, although a lot of them are.
Yeah.
They're just not happy, and they're just kind of numb, right? And that's not a good place. That's not a good place to be either. So that's what really started kicking off. Okay, I'm not, you know, it's your birthright to be happy.
Yeah.
You're supposed to be happy. So if you're not, how can we get you there? And then, you know, I have this whole thing about be happy. That's, you know, don't worry, be happy.
Yeah.
You know, and choose happiness. There's that old paradigm of choose happiness. And I put out a post on Instagram saying, happiness isn't a choice. It's not, you know, going to the store and choosing to buy a red apple or a green apple. That's a choice.
Yeah.
Happiness isn't something necessarily that you choose. It's an intention.
Yeah.
You intend happiness. And then through your intention, you'll make choices that are going to move you more into happiness. So happiness really has to do with being. What are you being? Well, there's certain things that you need to take care of: mind, body, spirit, all of the, and, you know, and all creativity, all of those things. What are you being? Well, here's one thing you need to be being, because this is an old paradigm too. You need to be sleeping. You need to be sleeping 8 hours a day. Now, the old paradigm was, I'll sleep when I'm dead. You know, I'll get 3 or 4 hours of sleep and I'm fine.
Yeah.
But why don't you check out the latest research after 75 years of sleep research? The answer is it's definitive. You can't argue with it. You need at least 8 hours of sleep, good sleep, every night. So one of my things is you need to be sleeping. because of its effects on your brain. If you're not getting that quality of sleep, guess what? The next day, whether you are consciously aware of it or not, your cognitive level drops, your energy level drops, and you're effectively drunk.
Wow.
And you don't know it, you don't see that, but over time that builds up. And how can you be happy if your brain isn't operating total, and you're losing focus during the day, you're not able to concentrate, your cognitive level is down, you're not giving your body what it needs, your brain what it needs. So that's just one thing I notice. People just don't sleep enough. They don't sleep good enough. They haven't trained themselves and learned, what they can do to help themselves sleep. And there's lots of things you can do if you're sleep challenged to help you sleep through the night. So I could go on and on, I think we've already started that happy hour. Cheers.
Yes, exactly. Cheers. Yes. My coffee's upstairs. Yes. And I love that. There's a quote that I heard from a philosopher recently in a book. There's a C is between B and D. Choice is between your birth and death. You constantly make choices, and creativity is a choice, and all of that. And I completely agree with that. And one thing I want to go back to, you mentioned Joy and your daughter, and my daughter, Maddie, she's 14. I have a son, a 9-year-old, Andy, he's 9. Yeah. And I asked them, hey, I'll be interviewing Ron Thomas, because they've been watching Cobra Kai the last few weeks. They watched every
anybody
episode
on the planet that hasn't been watching Cobra Kai?
Yeah, it was #1 in the nation, and then #1 in the world on Netflix. Yeah. I love that. And so they watched that last episode, I don't know, 10 times in a row when everyone was fighting him at any event. Yeah. With my daughter, one question she asked about martial arts, because she used to do a little bit in the past, but she wanted to ask you, what are the orders of the colors real quick, like the color order of your belts?
Okay, well, every system is different.
Oh, okay.
Right? So you have all of these different styles of martial arts: Taekwondo, Aikido, Judo, Jiu-Jitsu, Karate, and so every system is going to be a little bit different.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and like in my system, you can't even become a black belt until you're 16.
Oh, really? Oh, wow.
Yeah, which makes sense, right? I mean, it does make sense. Traditionally, if you look at martial arts, it does make a lot of sense for reasons I won't go into right now.
Yeah, okay.
The belt systems in America have become commercialized. And if you've noticed, these karate schools make a lot of money selling you your black belt test, or your brown belt test, or your green belt test.
Yeah.
I never did that.
Okay.
We charged a little bit for testing, but it wasn't like these astronomical fees that some of these schools are charging. And, for an 8-year-old to become a black belt, okay. I started at one point just to keep kids motivated in what I called a junior black belt, but the black belt had a white stripe across it, right? With a white stripe in the middle. That was my junior black belt. They couldn't wear a solid black belt till they were 16. So I stuck to the traditions. But there is something where, my 12-year-olds would come to me and, well, my friend in karate, he's a black belt, right? And so, okay, I'm going to start a junior black belt system. So because I'm a sensei, because I have, I can make up my own system.
Yes, love that.
But usually, here's the thing. This is a great answer for your daughter. Here's where the black belt really came from. Okay, and this is probably a lot of martial artists out there don't even know this. You started wearing a white belt, and in the old days, you trained, and you train some more, but you never wash your belt. It's like a sin in the martial arts to wash your belt, because in a spiritual, sort of philosophical, energetic level, it's symbolic of washing away your energy, washing away your knowledge you've gained. It's sort of washing, so you never wash your belt. So here's how you became a black belt in the old days. You trained so much that white belt became black through dirt and blood and sweat. And by the time it was so dark, you were a black belt.
Oh, man.
That's the truth. Now,
so that way, if I don't do my laundry, I can tell my wife, hey, studying to be a black belt in real life with all my clothes.
Yeah. So you'll notice most systems, you start out white, and then it goes a little darker, like blue or yellow, or orange, and then it goes blue, then it'll go darker to dark green, and then it'll get brown, and then black. Wow. Usually that's some sort of variation right in that system. And then, of course, you go through the black belt ranks, the Dan ranks of first degree all the way to 10th, and then a 10th degree black belt will wear a red belt like in jiu-jitsu, solid red for master. And then I'm at the level where I can wear a red and white belt.
Okay.
I have one, but it doesn't really feel right to me. So I just love my old worn out sort of black belt. It's just comfortable for me. So.
And my son, who's 9, he said, "Where is Cobra Kai located, and is there a real life Cobra Kai anywhere?"
Oh God, how do you answer that? Of course there's a real life Cobra Kai. No mercy, right here.
That's right.
Oh man. Well, no, Cobra Kai came out of course, the Karate Kid.
Love that.
It was the name of the dojo.
Where was that? Where was Cobra Kai filmed? Is that in Los Angeles?
It's supposed to be in Los Angeles. It's actually filmed in Atlanta.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Atlanta has become like a second Hollywood.
That's amazing.
I know. I've been back there. It's like you drive around Atlanta and you see all the honey wagons and the trucks. There's a production going on over there. There's a production. You're driving down the street, you see all the trucks, and there's a production over there. Wow. Honey wagons, for those of you who don't know, it's kind of like all the portable dressing rooms and the different the trucks that carry all the lighting and everything. You'll see like these big giant white trucks parked all over Los Angeles for years. I saw, they're shooting something over there. And then, but Atlanta has become like the second Hollywood. There's a lot of studios back there. Cobra Kai actually has its own huge, gigantic studio.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, it is awesome. It's really cool. And it's good for Atlanta. Put a lot of people to work in Atlanta.
I know when I first saw Karate Kid and seeing you act, and the most memorable scene for me was because Cobra Kai's were the bad guys. And you were the bad guy with integrity, because when, your sensei had said, sweep the leg, and you're like, no, but I could beat him. And then you felt sorry when you did it. And it was kind of like the bad guy with integrity, or winning with integrity. And that always struck me and stuck with me.
Yeah.
And the question that I have for you as it relates to tennis and other sports is, number one, how do you get that intensity where you want to do the best that you can, but you don't necessarily want to ruthlessly beat your opponent? You don't want harm to them, but at the same time, you don't want to let them get in your way. Is the first thing. And then the second biggest challenge for me as a coach with the players I coach with is, how do you transfer being in flow in practice versus real competition? Because what I find is there's a difference in someone's mindset and their performance as a result.
Woo! Okay.
I know that was a big one.
Okay, I might have to ask me that again, but let me go back to your son's question for a second, because it really just hit me that there is a real life Cobra Kai living, in our school system and in our youth, and that's called bullying. There are, unfortunately, and for lots of different reasons we could discuss on a different, Zoom meeting.
We'd love to.
And it's too bad. It's unfortunate that we have this in our society where someone feels the need to go out and bully, other people for attention and whatever. So there are Cobra Kai out there, just like my sensei used to say to me, if they could give black belts away for street fighters, there's a lot of black belts out there. They've never been awarded their belt, but they're experts at street fighting and game fighting, and they're experts at street warfare, because they go out and practice every Saturday and Friday night. I never forget my sensei saying something like that to me. Like, you think you're good, just because you've been awarded a certificate and a belt. There's a lot of people out there that never have that belt. But I would say there's a lot of Cobra Kai. The spirit of Cobra Kai, the original Cobra Kai, which is all the bullying and the bad guys. There's a lot of that spirit running around out there. So that's the reason to train for real. So
Wow.
you protect yourself and never let it happen to you or somebody you care about. Okay, back to
Winning with integrity. Winning with integrity would be one.
Okay.
So how do you perform at the highest levels in any sport and yet do it from a sportsmanship integrity state? And then the second is finding your flow. I find there's a drop off in when someone gets to competition, let's say in tennis, they play a tournament versus their practice.
And that's true in every sport, right?
Yeah.
Because there's no pressure in practice.
That's right.
It's nothing on the line in practice. So, you know, integrity in sports and sportsmanship is critical. I mean, here's the thing. You have to, again, put it in perspective. If your opponent wasn't there, if the opposing team wasn't there, if the opponent on the other side of the net wasn't there, when you bow into the ring, if you didn't have someone there to spar with, then you have no competition.
Yeah.
Who are you going to compete against? Your opponent is critical to the game called competition. Otherwise, there's no competition.
Yeah.
So, you know, first of all, see your opponent not necessarily as an opponent, but a friend who's there to support a friendly, competitive environment.
Yeah.
Period. Right? So, I mean, that's integrity. That's integrity. If you understand the word, it means wholeness. You know, not divided from the whole. But you know, when you're out of integrity, you're divided from the whole, your essence. So, I mean, when you want to approach competition from a wholeness perspective, and what is your opponent giving you the opportunity to do? Challenge yourself.
Yeah.
Grow. You know. Prove that your training is paying off. And you know, and if it doesn't, if they win the competition, great. Your mindset should be that should motivate you more. It's kind of like this voter suppression that's going on right now. You know, tell somebody they can't do it. Tell somebody they can't vote. Try to suppress the person, and look what's happening. Massive people are waiting in line for hours, 8 hours, 9, 10 hours to vote because they've been told they can't. Or they know what they know. The jig is up, right? They know that they're being suppressed. So guess what? They're coming out in droves. So it's kind of like, I don't know why I thought of that, but it's sort of the same thing. Like your competitor, if you lose, your competitor is sort of saying, you know, it's kind of like you got to take that as, oh, okay, you're saying I can't do it. You know, I'm gonna up level my game now.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like, there's different ways, whatever gets you inspired and motivated. It shouldn't be from a point of, you know, anger, although what happens in sports is emotion, you know. I've never met a competitor that likes to lose.
Yeah, exactly.
So, you know, so when you do lose, it's like, you know, and when you feel like you're being cheated on, which happens in sports too, unfortunately, you know.
Especially tennis, because you have to make your own line calls. Tennis is the only sport besides ultimate frisbee, you know, where you're your own referee in college, for example.
Yeah.
You have to make your own line calls, and you got to compete.
Yeah, and I understand that, you know, emotion can take us over, right? And so again, back to self-mastery, not allowing that emotion to take over. Listen, there's advanced techniques in martial arts where once you're good enough as a martial artist, you're a black belt, you've mastered your skill, where your part of your strategy and your technique is to get the person out of control emotionally, psychologically. Wow. And because a person who's out of control is easy to control.
Wow.
And so that can apply anywhere, right? That can apply in tennis and everything. You don't want to be that person who's out of control because, and I hate the word control actually, but I should say out of command. You don't want to be out of command of your game and your mind and your internal game. You know, you want to be in command at all times and not let your opponent take you out of command. There's a lot of things that athletes go through. You know, here's the challenge with athletes, right? Especially young athletes.
Yes.
They don't believe anything I'm saying. I think, younger athletes are like that. The mental game has nothing to do with anything. You're wrong.
Yeah.
And you'll learn it at some point. But if you're a high school athlete looking for a college scholarship and you want to go pro, you better learn it now, because you'll be one of the few in your group of other high school athletes who think they know it all, who maybe take some words of wisdom from people who have been through it, that your mental game is everything. Mindset is everything. Sometimes it's the only thing.
Yeah.
It's to get you to where you want to be. How do you get in the flow is really critical. It's, when you can, athletes pray to get in the zone, what we used to call the zone. Back in the day. Now it's called the flow state.
Oh, flow state, yeah.
Where you're not thinking, you're just doing. You're not trying, you're just allowing. You're just letting. When you're trying, that creates tension, just like control. That's why I hate the word control. You try to be in control of your thoughts and your game and your mental state and everything else. That creates tension. You can't get in the zone when you're tense. If you'll notice, those times when you're in the zone, you're relaxed. You're out of your own way. Your subconscious has taken over your movements, right? You don't think about your heart beating. Your heart just beats. You don't think about each step you take when you walk. You just walk because you've been doing it so long. But if you've been training in any form of sport, you have muscle memory already. Now you need to get out of the way and let your training take over. And you can't do that when you're tense, when you're trying, try hard, you have to get to a place where you can allow and let. That's one of the steps of getting in that flow state and being in that zone where it's like you can do no wrong, right? Because it's just happening. And that's what happens in practice, because you're not trying so hard. Because there's no pressure, there's no eyes on you, there's no fans looking at you, there's no opponent, there's not all these extra things. You're just practicing, and so there's no tension.
Yeah.
And then it's like, why can't I do that in a game?
Yes.
Because you're too tense. Because you're trying too hard. So that's the first hurdle. Now there's more than that, and we don't have time to get into it, but I teach athletes this all the time. Flow state's critical if you want to be a champion.
That reminds me of Tim Galway's best-selling book, Inner Game of Tennis, or Inner Game. And it's just, let it happen rather than try to make it happen. Yeah.
And if you can master that, you're going to be so far ahead of the competition.
Yes.
It's the truth.
Yeah, and it's so interesting what you said about mental skills and mindset, so important to sport. The stat I share with tennis athletes, because there's still, it's hard to get buy-in that, the mental game, what I get is the mental game is important. Yes, no problem. But there's a difference between comprehension and retention. In other words, yes, I comprehend that going to the gym and working out is going to make me stronger. But if you don't go to the gym on a regular basis, you're not going to get stronger. Same with the mindset. I know the mental game is important to my tennis game, but if you're not practicing it on a regular basis, it's not going to get stronger. 84% of the time, the tennis ball is not in play. Therefore, your physical game, your grips, your swing path, your technique happens, 16% of the time. But what are you thinking before and after the point, which represents 84%? And that's when the light bulb goes on, and it's okay, I get it. Now I have to, have purposeful thinking before and after points. At least in tennis, it's big.
Right. I mean, the mental gym is as important as the workout gym, the physical gym, and and a lot of younger athletes, especially because they don't have the resources, or they don't have even a coach that's telling them how important it is, or there's a lot of politics in high school, even high school athletics. We know this. I know this because I've coached a lot of high school athletes. But they don't have the resources for like a sports psychologist. or, they don't understand how important it is because they haven't been taught. And they don't know where to go to what's the mental gym? What does that mean? How do I got to read a book on the mental, I think there is a book called The Mental Gym.
Okay.
I think, but how do I, what do I do? There's like lack of knowledge, and lack of resources, right? And that's where you hire somebody like myself or a sports psychologist. And even a sports psychology may not take you to the level of where you can get in the zone. A lot of sports psychologists is really about it's about thinking and thought and how you're thinking, self-talk, and not in mastering and kind of handling your emotions. But where do you go to learn how to get in the zone? You go to somebody who was an athlete or is an athlete and understands more than just that and can teach you how to do it. But regardless, you got to start somewhere, and anywhere, is a good place to start if you don't know anything about the mind and how big of a deal it is. If you don't know how big of a deal it is, I tell you something. I used to coach Gabe Kapler. Now, Gabe Kapler has 2 World Series rings. I've coached a lot of baseball players.
Yeah.
High school baseball players looking for D1 scholarships. I was on tour with a company called Showball Baseball, who was just that, working with, high-level high school baseball players. And I can speak from experience when I say that those athletes, those young guys, they don't take it seriously. The ones that did got the D1 scholarships. The ones that didn't are still struggling with their game. But, Gabe Kapler has 2 World Series rings, played for the Boston Red Sox, the LA Dodgers, the Milwaukee Brewers, and he believed totally in nutrition, totally in what are you being? You got to be sleeping, you got to be eating, you got to be doing certain things. But he came to me for his mental game, especially later in his career. Now what is he? He's the manager of the San Francisco Giants.
I love that.
Pretty darn good career. Pretty darn good guy who understands integrity, the whole, all the pieces of the puzzle coming together that make you a premier athlete. And he is and was that. So
I love that. And it goes to show that a game like baseball or even football, basketball, the mental game is still so important, and yet it seems so physical. Even martial arts. I mean, I remember in boxing, Mike Tyson said, everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face. I'm sure with martial arts, it must be similar, Ron, where, you being a sensei and everything, is that before you had touched on, to not lose command, not let your emotions take you out of your mindset or mental game. How do you in martial arts, do you have trigger words or things that get you to then stay in command?
Yeah, one of the things I like to do is there's sort of default emotions. Our emotions are largely, they can run the show when they take over. And it's not bad to be emotional. You should be emotional. You should be passionate. That should show up. When I see winners cry as much as I see losers cry.
Yeah.
Who said crying is a bad thing?
Yeah.
It's a good thing. It's a physical release, right? So you should be emotional. But there's sort of default emotions that we sort of categorize things into. For athletes, a lot of it is anger and frustration, which creates what? More tension.
Yeah.
Which takes you what? Out of the zone.
So
as an example, one of the things that I used to work on for myself and teaching, as I've trained world-class martial artists and was a trainer for the United States Sport Jiu-Jitsu team. That to change, when you start to feel anger, that's a powerful emotion. But when it's anger, it can overpower you, not your opponent. You need to change. You need to channel that anger into intensity. Intensity is a much more useful emotion for an athlete than is anger. Right? So what are the useful emotions? What can you channel? What can you change anger into? What can you change doubt into, because doubt is probably the athlete's worst enemy.
Yeah.
Which creates hesitation.
Yeah.
And also, what another thing doubt does is a very sneaky opponent, because it lets you be right when you lose.
Yeah.
I thought, I knew I was going to lose anyway, or I wasn't sure. So, it gives you an excuse. It lets you off the hook.
Yeah.
So these emotions are sneaky, sneaky opponents, and they do more damage to you in the competitive ring than you realize. So it's a matter of switching gears when you're angry, or when you're in doubt, or when you're frustrated. So, another one is, of course, burnout. Athletes experience burnout all the time. So athletes deal with a lot of stuff. But when some of the most successful people in life are athletes, and there's a reason, and the reason because they've grown through those things. And then they go on past their athletic career and become successful CEOs of major companies, or business people, or successful in life in whatever arena they choose because of their athletics. So athletics is awesome. I love sports. I love competition, but competition where you learn it serves you, where you let it serve you in the highest way possible, and not let it defeat you. Because ultimately, who are you competing against?
Yeah, yourself, really.
Yourself. Ultimately, it's you, baby.
And I know Simon Sinek and also Seth Godin have made the distinction between a finite game and an infinite game. A finite game, there's a winner and a loser, there's an end. And the infinite game keeps going, and you do something, not because you want to win or be happy, but that it brings you joy. My brother and I, you see the certificates behind us, but we set 2 Guinness World Records in tennis. The longest rally was the first one. We rallied the ball 14 hours and 31 minutes. And that was to honor our friend and tennis mentor who had passed away, unfortunately, of ALS, Lou Gehrig's disease, at only age 42. And our way of being okay with it was to honor his legacy by setting a world record. It took us 2 years, and we failed our first year, but right away we did it again the next year, and it happened. And it reminded me of, I watched recently your YouTube video about your story with your mom, and condolences to you for just what an inspirational story for me about Michael Landon and how important mindset is. We don't have to get into too much detail now, but anyone who's watching, go to Sensei Ron Thomas's YouTube page. On there, there's videos, but there's one that says how important mindset is, and you tell the story of your mom and Michael Landon, and that was unbelievable. When I got to that part of it, I didn't know that, and I just was broken up, and I was so, I don't know, just engaged in every word you were saying, because you were saying it from the heart. You kind of like, I know mindset is important. The subtitle of my book is the tenacious mindset on and off the court. But listening to you speak and say it like that, I was like, okay, yes, it is so important. And I think to end with is, what could people do on a day-to-day basis? They can hire a coach like you, for example, but on a day-to-day basis, what can they do to strengthen the mindset, which like you say, is everything?
Yeah, find someone, me or someone else. I'm going to do a whole thing for athletes. So I don't know if you've gone to my website, senseironthomas.com, and you go to the coaching. I think it's on the coaching page. But no, it could be on the coaching. Whatever page. I just have my website redone, so I can't remember all the pages. Maybe it's products page. I'm going to come out with actually a specific program that I'm going to videotape each segment of, and people can purchase it and go through the videos forever and ever, just remote. And that's what I'm doing for athletes. That's for athletes. It really is for anybody, because it's about mindset, but it's going to be geared toward athletes specifically. It's coming. I have a 6.5-year-old daughter, and I got Cobra. I got this and this and this going on. It's really gotta finish this book, and a lot of things going on, but I have to get back to doing that. So
Yes.
whether it's me or there's other people out there that also have done similar things or written books or put videos up about the mindset, find somebody that resonates with you and let them coach you through it. Don't just try to do it yourself, you know. But listen, meditation is a great thing. It's a great place to start. There's a lot of people out there who teach meditation. Now, the type of meditation I'm talking about is where you're trying to train your mind to be still. Completely still. Now, what am I saying about still and stillness? Right? There's the old scripture, the be still and know, you know. But I'm not talking spirit. I'm not necessarily talking spirituality right now or religious. You know, I'm just talking about you learning to sit completely physically, emotionally, and mentally still daily. Start with a few minutes. Build up to 5 minutes or 10 minutes. The ultimate goal you're after is to have no thought, to detach completely from your thinking. Because if you notice when you try to do this, that people can't do it. Like high-level people, when you start to coach them on this, they've never put it into practice. They struggle to even sit still for 2 minutes because they've bought into a belief that they're a human doing. You're not a human doing, you're a human being. Because you think you're a human doing, the mind wants to do. And what do I have to do? What did I do? What did I do wrong? What do I have to do next? I need to get this done. You can't shut your mind off. Guess what's owning you? Your mind has you. You don't have your mind. So your key to practice this meditation, which is very similar to being in the zone, is a mental state where if you measure your brainwaves in the zone or in meditation, they're going to be very similar, is to learn how to observe yourself, observe your thoughts out there like they're like on a movie screen. Oh, there's that thought. Because you got to remember this fact. You have thoughts, but they're not you. You have them, but they're not you. So you can observe what you're thinking, and then you can just let it go without judgment. Oh, why did I think that? Because that's what the mind does, right? Oh, I had that thought. Oh, that's a bad thought. Why did I think that? And then you go into the mind doesn't stop. Stop. Come to a complete stop every day. Recharge yourself. I used to, you know, when I coach this thing, and I used to, I still say it. You know, it's kind of like your mind is like a light bulb. It's just on all the time. You got to turn the switch off. Let the light bulb cool down. You know, instead of letting it just burn out. Right? So that's, I would say, if you want to start somewhere with the mindset, that's a great place to start, is to learning how to meditate with the ultimate goal of having no thoughts, you know, nothing going on, just being still, right?
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. Not a human doing, but the human being. So
Let yourself be.
Just let yourself
be. And then the mind wants to go, well, be what?
Yeah.
Be still, be calm, be present. No, none of those things. Just be. Just be.
That's awesome.
And as simple as it sounds, it's a hard thing to do.
Yeah. So yes, simple is not easy.
Right. Exactly.
I love that. We can talk for hours. We're going to have to do this again.
Absolutely.
I could see a lot of topics that we could cover. Really, you're a true inspiration. I love the fact that I started tennis when I was 3, or at least table tennis, and that led to tennis. And you started swimming. There's so many synergies. But
I started swimming when I was 3, competitively.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, and I mean, that's tough because you can't drown. You know, you gotta win the race and not drown.
Yeah.
So that takes mental skills and mindset. But I love the fact that to be a successful actor, you have to create and be in the mindset of the character and be in command of your lines. And then you as a coach, a life coach, a coach of mastery of athletes and people and executives, that you come from, you have so many different elements that is just you're truly unique. You're really inspirational. Can you tell everyone that's listening kind of where to find you? I know there's Instagram, Facebook,
Yeah.
YouTube, your website, but can you just tell us a little bit?
Yeah, sure. Well, go to my website, senseironthomas.com. And you find a lot of stuff there. You can even follow me on every social media button there.
Okay.
From my website.
Perfect.
And Sensei is spelled, by the way, Sensei, because a lot of people message me on social media. They don't know how to spell it, so it's like Sansi.
Yeah.
It's like, no, Sensei. But Instagram at the real Ron Thomas. Facebook Sensei Ron Thomas. And today I got to sit down after we're done with this interview and post my No Mercy Monday post, which is an inspirational, motivational post on whatever the heck I feel like posting about, and I'm going to do it today. So every Monday there's No Mercy Monday, for a little bit of Cobra Kai Karate Kid, but really it's life coaching, and those posts are really, I get a lot of positive feedback from people. So definitely follow me. I got a book coming out. I've got some other things in the works, so stay in touch, man.
Yeah, definitely.
I answer people back as much as I can. So hit me up.
Do you have the title yet for your book that's coming out?
Oh yeah.
Can you say it or not yet?
Let's just say
it's confidential. You don't have to do breaking news now.
Yeah, it's I can't say it just yet, but if you're a Karate Kid and Cobra Kai fan, you're gonna love the title. Let's put it that way.
Love it. Well, Sensei Ron, thank you so much for your time, your wisdom, your words, and I look forward to keeping in touch. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Angelo. It's fun.
Okay, I'll be in touch.
Bye-bye.
Okay.
Peace.
Bye.